Good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. Have a message from my book, Words That Choose to Live By. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you're part of my conversation with author Elaine Roth. She just released her brand new book called The Midnight Garden. You're in part of that conversation today. Enjoy our broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In Mississippi news, Governor Tate Reeves claims win in hard-fought race against Brandon Presley. Republican Governor Tate Reeves claimed a re-election win in a close race against Democrat Brandon Presley. This victory sure is sweet, Reeves said. The governor said he spoke to Presley, who congratulated him on the win. Reeves said he also congratulated his opponent on a hard-fought race. Presley conceded the election Tuesday night to Reeves. It hurts too much to laugh and too old to cry, Presley said. Presley thanked supporters for everything they had done for him during the campaign and said he's not going to give up hope because the campaign brought up important issues. Democrats held the Mississippi governorship for almost all of the 20th century, but Republicans have controlled the office for the last 20 years. With help from a sizable cash infusion from the National Party, Presley outraised Reeves this year and essentially matched him in spending, but the incumbent entered the final stretch of the campaign with more money. Reeves, 49, served 2 terms as state treasurer and 2 as lieutenant governor before winning an open race for governor in 2019. In Yazoo City news, Joseph Thomas Sr. was re-elected senator and Joseph Thomas Jr. was elected supervisor. In international news, Israel fights Hamas in depths of Gaza City and foresees control of enclave security after war. Israel said Tuesday that its ground forces were battling Hamas fighters deep inside Gaza's largest city, sealing a major new stage in the month-long conflict, and its leaders foresee controlling the enclave security after the war. The push into Gaza City guarantees that the already staggering death toll will rise further, while comments from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about controlling Gaza security pointed to the uncertain endgame of a war that Israel says will be long and difficult. Israelis commemorated the 30th day, a milestone in Jewish mourning, since Hamas militants killed 1,400 people during an October 7th rampage in southern Israel that sparked the war. Some 240 people Hamas abducted during the attack remain in Gaza, and more than 250,000 Israelis have evacuated homes near the border of Gaza and Lebanon amid continued rockets fired into Israel. A month of relentless bombardment in Gaza has killed more than 10,300 Palestinians, 2/3 of them women and minors, according to the health ministry of the Hamas-run territory. More than 2,300 are believed buried from strikes that reduced entire city blocks to rubble. Around 70% of Gaza's 2.3 million people have fled their homes, and more than 700,000 of them are crowded into UN schools turned shelters. Civilians in Gaza are relying on a trickle of aid and their own daily foraging of food and water from supplies that have dwindled after weeks of siege. Israeli ground troops have battled Palestinian militants inside Gaza for over a week, cutting the territory in half and encircling Gaza City. Chief Israeli military spokesperson said that Israeli ground forces are located right now in a ground operation in the depths of Gaza City and putting great pressure on Hamas. Speaking in an interview with ABC News that aired late Monday, Netanyahu said the military had killed several thousand Hamas fighters since the war began. The Gaza Health Ministry's death toll does not distinguish between civilians and combatants, and slain fighters not brought to hospitals would not be in its count. In national news, a jury on Monday acquitted a Denver area police officer of manslaughter following trial testimony that he put Elijah McClain in a neck hold before the man was injected with a powerful sedative by paramedics and died. It was the second of 3 trials against first responders indicted by state prosecutors in the 23-year-old massage therapist's death in August 2021. The local district attorney initially declined to bring charges, but the case was revived after the 2020 murder of George Floyd sparked social justice protests nationwide. Prosecutors contended Officer Nathan Woodyard's actions, including the neck hold, contributed to McClain's death, but defense attorneys convinced the 12-person jury that the officer wasn't responsible, arguing that Woodyard was not present during critical moments in the confrontation with McClain. And finally, in business news, Wall Street ticks up as falling oil prices and Treasury yields ease the pressure. U.S. stocks ticked higher Tuesday as Wall Street continues to absorb the big swings that have shaken financial markets recently. The S&P 500 was up 0.3% and on track for a second quiet day after months of heavy losses, swiveled sharply to a rally last week, its best of the year. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 58 points or 0.2%, and the Nasdaq Composite was 1% higher. TripAdvisor jumped 13% after reporting better results for the summer than analysts expected, while Emerson Electric sank 7.6% after falling short of expectations. The majority of big companies has been topping estimates so far this earnings reporting season, but another factor has been much more influential in driving the stock market's big swings since the summer. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. Ready for your Wednesday wake-up call? Stop blaming others for why you're not progressing. Point the finger at the one who is responsible, you. You are the only one who can stunt your growth. Take responsibility of yourself and realize it's time for you to move on. Now go have an amazing hump day. Author Elaine Roth is featured today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Author Elaine Roth joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to discuss her debut novel, The Midnight Garden. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Glad you could join us. Thank you so much for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, look, congratulations to you on the new book, Elaine, The Midnight Garden. I really enjoyed this book. I'm going to talk about some of the parts that really stood out to me here in a bit. But what has this experience been like for you now, Elaine, to have lived with these characters and now to be able to share them with all of us?
It's a little bit surreal. You know, they've been living in my mind for over a year now. And I've been thinking about them and figuring them out, and now to share them with other people and to see how others are experiencing them. It's a wild kind of ride.
Yeah. I love the book, Elaine, for a couple of reasons. One, I think, is because the characters are so relatable. And even if the particular situations, especially with the two main characters that we're kind of able to take the journey with Hope and Will, even if we haven't been in their exact same situations, we know the themes. And I mentioned some of them in my introduction. The ones that stood out to me was being able to move forward, toward the past, to learn to forgive oneself. But also in the case of Will, finding something to fight for. Where did you know going in that these themes were going to be such a big part of the story, or did it just kind of evolve as the characters came to you?
It definitely kind of evolved, and as their journeys evolved, I began to realize that both of them were doing the same thing in different ways. But I always knew that, that grief and kind of finding a way to move forward, I always knew that would be part of the theme. That would be a big part.
So take us back a little bit, Elaine, for yourself. Is storytelling something that you've always known that you wanted to do?
Oh, always. From when I was a little kid, I always said I was going to be a writer and an author. And one of my favorite compliments I got from a friend when I was in elementary school, she said to me, "You're always asking what if." She's like, "I like that about you. You're always asking what if the next thing happens." So in my mind, I was like, there's no better compliment.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversation Daily News. But we've got on tomorrow's more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, the Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Let us go make today amazing. Take care.